The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by Mid Carolina Service Company.
Mid Carolina Service Company is the first name to search for your residential or commercial HVAC needs in Lexington and surrounding areas.
Just go holler at Jason and Clint. They'll hook you up on the air conditioners, on the restaurant equipment, refrigerators, refrigeration, ice machine repair. They've been doing this for years. I know them cats forever.
Family owned and operated since 2006, they pride themselves in their quality work and customer relationships. Call 803-356-4153 or visit midcarolinaserviceco.com for a no obligation quote for service today. This episode of Hilltop Glove Podcast is proudly sponsored by Your Dollar Store, located at 3017 Farrell Road in Columbia, South Carolina. Owned by Brian Thomas, Your Dollar Store has been serving the community since June 2021 with a mission to provide fresh produce and essential household items to neighborhoods in need, serving areas like Booker Washington Heights and other nearby locations affected by grocery store closures. Your Dollar Store is a convenient one-stop shop for those seeking healthier food options and affordable essentials. Support a local business that's dedicated to giving back. Your Dollar Store, where you can shop, chat, and leave with a smile.
The Hilltop Glove Podcast is sponsored by True Brilliance Entertainment.
True Brilliance is a production, promotions, and management company dedicated to connecting artists and producers across the Carolinas to music industry professionals.
Several of their clients have placements both domestic and internationally as a result of their services.
Are you an artist or producer looking to build meaningful relationships within the music industry? Then True Brilliance is for you. Check them out at paramilitary.com. That's spelled P-A-I-R-A military.com.
Welcome to the Hilltop Glove Podcast.
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 The Hilltop Glove Podcast.
Welcome back to the Hilltop Glove Podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with the talented Ryan Essick. Is that correct? That's correct. Awesome. Also known as Princeton. Princeton is a Charlotte-based artist known for his dynamic blend of rap and pop, infused with vivid storytelling. Princeton has made a significant mark in the music industry with his unique sound and engaging performances. His career highlights include performing on MTV's Fresh Out and Tengo, Talento, Mucho, Talento.
Woo! There you go. One go. That was it.
Woo!
That's
good. Yeah, well,
paid off right there.
Showcasing his versatility and appeal across diverse audiences. He has cultivated a dedicated fan base with over 700 monthly listeners on Spotify and 490 subscribers on YouTube. Among his viral songs, Prince in My City stands out, boasting more than 8,000 views. Princeton's music transcends traditional genre. That was hard for some reason. Princeton's music transcends traditional genres, offering a fresh perspective through his storytelling and rhythmic prowess. His ability to connect with listeners on a personal level makes his music both relatable and impactful. In this episode, we'll dive deep into Princeton's journey, exploring the influences that have shaped his music and experiences that continue to inspire his creative process. We'll discuss his approach to blending rap and pop, the stories behind his viral hits, and his vision for the future. How are you doing today, my brother?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Excellent, excellent. Do you like your biography?
Good. Yeah, I like it.
It's good?
Yeah. It's
you
good.
think Tamaya over there?
Yeah. Yep.
She's on it, man. It's on it. I know one thing, we're going to ask you our first question, but I am very impressed with the fact that you have followed us for as long as you have followed us.
Yeah.
And my brother was telling me about you, and we were listening to your music, and he was like, yeah, man, we really need to get this guy on the podcast. He's like, he's really been following us, and he's been asking us to come on the podcast. And I listened to his music. His music's good. We like his music. We like the vibe. I was like, all right, well, hopefully we can get him on season 5. I was like, God, Lord, I felt bad. I almost felt bad.
Well, it was like you guys had reached out, I think, like a year or two prior.
Yeah.
And then like it seemed like some interest, but then it didn't come out. So then I tried to reappear. And then I was like, man, these guys aren't. But I think I had already envisioned myself on the podcast. So I was like, oh, like this needs to happen. I was like, and then I found you guys were based in Columbia. So I was like, okay, if I need to go to Columbia, like, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why when you guys brought up the show, I was like, oh, all right, well, I'm good. I could just, it's my backyard. So you guys are coming here. So
funny.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Seriously. Well, we're going to start with the first question.
Mm-hmm.
Every episode, we want to know a little bit about your background.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like growing up? Who or what influenced you?
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, born and raised here. Little small suburb outside called Harrisburg. So I used to travel like a good bit as a kid. Yeah. And, I would just tell people I'm from Charlotte. So, I definitely feel like I'm definitely, with the community in Charlotte, and I've lived here my whole life. So.
Do you live in Charlotte now?
Yeah, I live in the NODA area. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, definitely just, it's great to see how much the city has grown over like the last like 15 years, since I was a kid, and just seeing, everything like from UNC Charlotte to like uptown to like the district neighborhoods around it. So, everything's like pretty good with the city. So I kind of like, if I didn't grow up in Charlotte, I would have rather moved to Charlotte. So that's why that's
what's happening.
Maybe down the line, I move away from the city. But as of right now, like I think, being in the city, like with the music scene here, I think it's just, it's where I need to be right now. So
tell me about the music scene here, man. Charlotte is kind of like Columbia's bigger cousin.
It is. It is.
But I don't ever make it up here unless it's for like a specific show. I don't know what's going on a Friday night. Like that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a lot of different like ways to cultivate like artistry, like from, just beginners. Like we have like a few open mics that are like consistent either weekly or monthly that just get like people in the door. And I mean, like, you think of like bigger concerts, like something at the Spectrum or Bojangles Coliseum. There's always something going on. But I think for like the local scene, I mean, it's just a lot of people, I've done some stuff with Music Everywhere CLT, which is like an initiative by Charlotte City Partners.
So there's support from the city.
Yeah. I think that they're trying to make it. Yeah, like they did Confluence. They put Confluence together, which was like a music conference.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
So they it's definitely an initiative that's been taken by people that like maybe not even have music backgrounds, but want to see the music scene thrive.
Because it's good for the business.
It's good. It's good for the overall economy of the city. So I think as an independent artist, I'm trying to figure out ways to, make money, as well.
Yeah,
so
you have to.
And a lot of independent artists, are trying to figure that out as well. So
I wanted to ask, what are some of the locations that you're talking about with these open mics that occur? If you can name them so that that way the audience will know.
Evening Muse, Monday nights, every Monday they do a open mic. It's a NODA. Awesome. There's one called Jambox Studios. They do open mic monthly. On first Wednesday of the month. I just performed at that one actually this past Wednesday.
You did?
Yeah. And then and it's really I think open mics is just really because I've been performing for like close to like 7-8 years. I think it's just I just need to get reps. I think that's it.
Just like anything you do.
I figure I like every time I perform I find like something subtle that I can include in the performance that like it just came about in the performance. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna add this to my next one. So there's another one called Tosco Open Mic. That's also at the Evening Muse, but it's like hosted by a guy named John Tosco. He's like another person that's like, older gentleman in the city that like has some sort of infrastructure when it comes to music. So
awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Because it's good for people to know, especially like the audience. They'll hear you talking about it, but then they'll be like, where is that? Where can I find them? Right?
And I think a lot of stuff is it just takes some exposure. And I think I just went to an event last night. It's called CLT is Creative, Charlotte's Creative. And they had a mixer. And like, that's like probably, I started going to those like a year ago. And it's just understanding how to, the networking aspect. Because as an artist, I was just focused on just making the music. And I wanted to be like in my studio or, wherever I record, and focus on the music. But a lot of opportunities have came about for me just being out and about in the city and showing face to not even musicians, but just like entrepreneurs, people, creators.
Say it one more time.
A lot of opportunities have came about just by showing face and being out and showing support to people.
I need to hear that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that at the time.
We all need to hear it because people sometimes they get caught up in watching how things occur. And we were talking, man, that may be the string for today, but you actually have to put certain things to work. You got to go out there. You got to be fearless. You got to be able to understand your emotions and handle your business. And sometimes we get in our own way and not even know it. So I just like people when they say that. I say, say it again. Yeah. But we're going to get to this real boring questions before we get fun. Because this is what we were supposed to ask you to start.
It's either a biography or it's
right? So we just want to know more about your influences.
Yeah,
Where'd you go to high school? How did you did you go to college? What was your route to get to here? Like, do you have brothers and sisters?
I'm an only child. So,
really?
Yeah, I think maybe that probably helped with the artistry.
When were you born?
I was 95. I'm a 95 baby.
No, month.
Oh, August.
Date.
29th. I'm a Virgo.
That's what I was about to say. I figured it. God almighty.
September, August. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's to my background. Her Virgo, so she always likes to know what the horoscope signs. And what's funny is a lot of crazy when they come out. I mean, y'all Virgos, and she's been telling us she thinks she's lying, but it keeps lining up.
It's like tame. It's like we can make it tame, but then you know what it is.
It works. So if you could just tell us about.
I think I'm actually like a mixed race person. My mom is Peruvian and my dad is American. So I think definitely I grew up in a school where it was like mostly white people, but like white and black, and so I didn't really like understand more about like my Hispanic side until like as I got older. Yeah. And I think like musically, I mean, I think that just helps because just the different taste of genres. My dad put me onto a lot of stuff. And I think by the age of 12, I knew the greatest hits of like Michael Jackson, Prince, The Temptations, War. I could just keep going.
My Elvis, God, you listen to War?
Elvis, yeah, exactly. Whose Cadillac is Cisco
man.
Kid? Yeah,
what?
Yeah. Well, why can't we be friends? Yeah, I could. Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Rockability, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, the Beatles. Definitely like good music.
Good music,
from like the 60s and 70s.
Watching people like who would play that instrument behind you and go down.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
knock it out.
I actually cut my first record as an 11-year-old. It wasn't.
Really?
I went to Sun Studios. We did my dad and I did a tour of Sun Studios.
Yeah,
and I didn't cut I recorded. Basically, you could pay like $30, which was a pretty good deal at the time, and you could record 2 songs. So I was 11 years old, and that was my first time on a mic. And I did Great Balls of Fire by Jerry Lee Lewis and Tutti Frutti by Little Richard.
Do you still have it?
I have a CD or I have a file. It's I got a master file somewhere. Definitely on a laptop or a hard drive. So I definitely have that. But that was my first time being introduced to like actually because. I think as a kid, I would just love like performing, like to my family and to my parents. I just I love the songs, especially Michael Jackson. Probably was the most.
Man.
Of course,
of
course,
great.
And those 2 songs I think because I don't think they had any Michael Jackson. You had to do some rockabilly. Great Balls of Fire and Tutti Frutti definitely were the 2 songs that I was comfortable doing. So I remember I recorded each song twice. The first time it was okay, and then the second time I just like amped it up, I guess, even as a kid. It felt like I did better.
Take another take.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One more time.
And and I did like a whole, and I remember because like now, when I record it, like I'll piece it together, and but now at that time I just did like a whole run. Straight through twice. I was 11-year-old kid, so I had probably a lot of energy to get that off. So and honestly, like it sounds funny, but it sounded pretty good. Like I don't think I sounded bad on them. Like I think I sounded good. So that was my first introduction. And I think my mom, she put me in like a Elvis Presley fan club, and I think I got to perform at one of the events when I was like 11. So and they were trying to my mom was trying to organize it where I could be like on a tour with like the Elvis impersonators or whatever, and it ended up not coming about. But I think they were trying to.
But mom, they were
it was
So
I think that's definitely I think in the space that I do now, pop rap, I think I really haven't understood, but like I've taken like a lot. Like I didn't realize how much the music that I listened to.
You.
Yeah, like Earth, Wind & Fire was probably one of the other ones that like I listened to like religiously as a kid, and like just understanding like melody is in the rap space and in the hip hop space has like I think helped me stand out as an artist, and like people start to gravitate towards my songs because they just resonate and it's catchy. And they just
the melody, man. And I know and you talking about that with music is very important. I know when we first started making music so many years ago, we did not understand that, and it took the time to figure it out. But once you figure out that that's where the hook is, literally, then you're running from there, and it's important. And when you listen to good music, you get to learn these lessons early, and so your music has more fullness, more richness to it. I will tell you because I know I've been watching your music from back to coming from back in the day up into now, and you have steadily improved. And I'll tell you, that's dope, bro. Like you steadily improve. You can tell that you have been working at your craft to get it better and better and better. And with that, and I want to lead this into what I'm about to say now. So you started young. Did you have a break? Did you stop doing music? After you went to Sun City, so did you stop trying to record?
Well, no, I think as a kid, you don't really know what it takes,
right.
in order, because that was in Memphis, Tennessee.
That's
so
true,
when I came back to Charlotte, it was like I just did that for it was like kind of like a fun thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
you weren't thinking about it seriously.
Yeah, and I think around the time I was about 15, 16 in high school, I started like writing more lyrics and like getting into more hip hop. I think that's when I was like doing a deep dive into hip hop, because I'm definitely someone that's like a student, and I'm very like, I think Kanye at the time was my favorite artist, and I was like really big in him. But then I like peeled back the layers and like started listening to 90s, 80s hip hop, like Rakim, KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane. Yeah, I just
I
think I'm very much like when it comes to that kind of stuff, because I feel like that at that point I was like really gravitating towards like becoming an artist.
Yeah.
And I think for someone like me, I think preparation is like the biggest aspect and how I can succeed. Because I feel like if I have all the details and everything, I can be the best product that I can be. So I think I'm someone.
Sounds like a Virgo.
Yeah,
I know.
Exactly. So
you are. She's over there just chopping
everything. Keep looking at her heads,
no, because that is real. That is real. That's almost. It's something that's hard for people to understand.
Yeah.
Because it takes humility. You have to be humble. You have to humble yourself and understand that you don't know it all. So I'm gonna go back and find people that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to what they do. I'm not gonna copy them.
It defines where we are now, is how we got here too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then how do you know what is new if you haven't looked at what already has been?
Come on. You got to give yourself a chance. Man, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 29. So I'm
come on.
A little younger than us. Yeah. So you were going back in time and really digging in the crate.
That's what I wanted to.
I think a lot of it was like, because I would do like some shows early on, and I would see like old head like black dudes, and they would just kind of like not really like they they just kind of dismiss me. So I feel like at the time I was really like trying to prove it. So I was like, I just need to like understand like this whole collective, because I was someone that didn't look like a typical artist.
It shows humble.
Rapper.
It shows him being humble. That's my point. I could tell.
Used to say you got to pay the cost to be the
boss. Real talk.
Be the boss.
You got to do it. Especially like I tell people, I related to this all the time, because there's always this ongoing thing with hip hop, with the creators of it and who deserves to be able to use it. I say this: if you go to Japan and you want to be a taiko drummer, you ain't running up there and just start hitting some taiko drums.
Yeah.
You have to go through years of training. You have to learn the art before somebody will then even create you a drum for you to play. And then you have to make sure that time that you're going to do it the right way and give it justice, because it's a part of a culture, and they take that culture very seriously. So they don't want outsiders to come and destroy the culture.
They're not about it.
So I can't just buy one at a gift shop at the airport.
Nah. Not a real one. You ain't getting
paper. And I feel like that was my stance, because it was like, if I'm coming into a space that's normally like, not really made for me, that I want to make sure that like I'm doing justice to it, and I'm like, treating it with respect. So I think that's kind of just like the type of person, maybe a Virgo thing as well, but just,
y'all are thorough.
Detailed, detailed on that aspect. So, that's kind of like, I just want to make sure like my cross my T's and dot my I's, so kind of thing. So by the time I was 17, I was senior in high school, I was like, all right, I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to be a rapper, and I'm going to call myself Princeton, because I wanted to say,
why did you name yourself Princeton?
I wanted something that would sound good now at the age that I'm at now, instead of like little Clorox or like, like little Magnum or like something like that. I wanted something that I thought could.
It would age
test.
well.
Yeah.
That's why if you don't use your real name, it's gonna age well. That's smart.
So,
good business.
Then, I didn't really have. I like Prince a lot, and I just like, because there's a certain artist like Prince Royce is a Latin artist. So and I was just like, and Drake there's a university named Drake, so just kind of all that, and I was like, Princeton. I was like, somebody calls you Prince, like I would like to be called that.
Called it.
Yeah, it seems clean. It seems like some sort of
because when I was
Princeton,
when I was searching your music up in your stuff online, when I type it in,
the university comes in.
Everything comes up. That's Princeton.
Yeah.
And so, if you type in rapper after it though, you come up.
Yeah, no, there was.
That's pretty good.
I don't know if you guys know this. It was a group back in the early 2010s. They were around my age. Mindless Behavior. They were a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah. I remember.
There was an artist named Princeton as well, and he's on there. And I remember, I think when he went solo, I had to like beat him out for the DSPs. So like he's Princeton Perez, And now I'm the Prince. Like I guess I was like the Prince. I think there's others now that are Princeton, but like I remember like having to like be able to occupy certain like
spaces.
Yeah, like on Spotify and Apple Music. So I was able to best him. You know, I think just by doing it before, like right
put
before
it in there. Yeah, let me get
exactly.
it in there.
And then he had to go by Princeton Perez like on platforms and stuff like that. So,
he had your business.
Exactly. You know. And we're like the same age, so it's just funny how those things come back around. Like, you know, he had a lot of success early on, and like I feel like now I'm starting to catch a stride, you know, later on, you know, and
catch the race.
Exactly. So,
but if you do it the right way, it's built on the right foundation.
Yeah,
you'll get good outcomes, and that's what you're supposed to do. I know. I was just talking about watching some of your videos, consuming your music. On your pages. What makes you different from mainstream rappers of today?
Ooh,
that's a hard question.
That's a hard question. I don't know. I think there's definitely a level of introspection that I try to, you know, put in my music.
Did you develop that over the years?
I mean, I think, you know.
Or was it always there from the beginning?
Oh, I think my first song actually, I called it, or it's called Legendary. And that's just kind of like talking about like, you know, me wanting to do music and pursuing it, and you know, and I think it's still on SoundCloud. Yeah, and that was you know, the first song that I came out with. So it's definitely like from the get go, because I always wanted to like be storytelling. I wanted to have like depth to it. I didn't want to come off pretentious, you know, in it, you know. And you know, when you ask the question about what makes me stand out, sometimes I feel like, you know, sometimes like I just need to be relatable, because a lot of artists, like I think Kanye, I would say, is probably the best example, where like, you know, Kanye, to me, he is someone that has a lot of great about him, but then also has like, you know, downfalls about him, pitfalls. And I think, you know, something like me, you know, I'm definitely someone that can fall victim to things like lust, or, you know, capitalism, or, you know, just, you know, vacation, you know, being on ego trips. And, you know, I'm someone that can definitely fall for those things, you know, and I feel like that, you know, makes me human, makes a lot of us human. So I think at the end of the day, I just try to, you know, convey that through my music, where, you know, there's going to be times where I have like fun anthems, you know, party anthems, you know, because I like to party. I like to go out.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
like to talk to girls. And then, but then there's moments where, you know, self-reflection, and, you know, where I want to convey a message that I found something profound, and I want to, you know, put that into my music. So
it's about, you're trying to paint a picture of a real person.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
like you have both good and bad qualities and traits. There's a overall character to you.
Yeah.
And that's important, because you don't, obviously it doesn't look, and from listening to music, you don't want to be a, what would you call it? You are not trying to be a caricature type at all. And sometimes you see it because it's an easy way to make money.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But obviously you haven't, as people say, sold out to that as a way of doing things, which is good.
Yeah.
And it's going to mean that like your music, it'll have a meaning to it, and it's going to continue to get better. Now, this is something I know the answer to already from talking to you, but I'm going to ask you the question anyway. Do you consider this a hobby, or are you looking to turn it into a career?
Oh yeah. You already know the answer to that.
I already know the answer to that.
You know, it's just like I said, it's just understanding a lot more about the business aspect. I think in the last few years, I've had to understand more about the business aspect of how that works. So
how are you doing that?
I mean, I think a lot of it is networking, because some of it, and, you know, and I would actually shout you guys out. You know, you guys are very, like, it seems like merit based. You give it to people based on, like, you know, and because a couple years ago, you guys would put me on the reels that you would, like, new music.
Yeah, sure.
And like, I didn't, you know, you guys never asked for money, and you know, it was definitely, I was like, oh, that's why I was really adamant on wanting to be on this podcast, because you guys actually were like, and I was like, oh, they actually see me for just being like a dope artist. And I think other places and other people in the city, you know, if some money's behind it, then they're behind it. And I think that's where it kind of like, well, I'm not really putting a lot of money in other people's pockets to get to certain platforms. And so I'm like, I'd rather get it merit-based. But I think what's helped me now is more of the showing up for other people and supporting them, you know, in any way I can, rather than just like, oh, play me in the club, I'll give you like $100 or something like that. It's just like, you know, actually showing up.
Time is money.
Yeah. So I think that's the kind of what helps me with the business aspect. And, you know, and I think I've been trying to figure out things that what I would invest to that I think would, you know, actually, you know, do a return. But with a lot of independent artists, we were putting money in different things like YouTube ads, and we don't know what exactly it can translate to. and, you know, if it's deemed a success or not, you know, based on metrics or what have you. So, you know, it's definitely a lot of ground that, you know, and any independent artist can, you know, attest to this. A lot of ground that just is, you know, you're trying to cover and you're trying to figure out, you know, it's a landscape that, you know, you have no clue about and you're trying to just navigate through it.
It's almost not, it's amorphous, but I have all right, so 2 questions can hit back to back. They're going to make sense. Do you have to work another job to help support? What do you do besides?
I'm a marketing coordinator for an aluminum company.
Awesome.
In Charlotte. So yeah, it's
awesome.
Big boy job.
Yeah,
exactly.
Big boy job.
Exactly.
I want the reason why I want you to tell this is so like when the audience is listening, they understand. Like you talking about painting that whole picture.
Yeah, this is all
realizing the real way that it takes to grind as an independent artist.
Yeah.
To make it to where you're going so that they can have a realistic understanding. I think, oh man, I'm just going to go out, I'm just going to do this and it's going to happen like that. No, it doesn't always happen like that.
Yeah.
There's a grind to it so that they know how much work you're really doing. Don't discount yourself.
And I think that's the thing too, because as artists, we just want people to see the artist side of us. And I have, you know, I have trouble with that as well. Of just like wanting to show like the polished version of yourself of like, oh, this is what I do. Instead of like, oh, my 9 to 5 is like, you know, being a marketing, you know, coordinator and, you know, working on aluminum. Yeah. So
come on.
It's definitely, you know, it's not something that I envisioned myself doing at this point in time, but this is where I am at right now. So, and all I can do is just build from there. So, you know,
the stuff that you're learning there, you're going to take that.
Marketing is,
it kind of makes lots of sense of what you're doing. And the reason why I'm saying is because we all have 9 to 5.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And when we do this stuff, people say, man, y'all just do that all the time. That's the only thing you do. No, it's not.
I got a marketing communications job.
That's
I run websites.
Come on, man. It allows you to be humanized. And we were talking about this with the guests that we saw today before you. And this is our little string through everything. You want to be able to show the whole human. One thing that my brother tells me, Kevin, this makes sense. He's not here today. Skip's not here today, but shouts out from him because he really likes music. But the thing that we sometimes don't do as adults are to explain or show to people what it is that we do in entirety. So that way, when we put out a product, our worth can be established based on the time that we put into doing it. So you'll know why I'm asking you for this much to do this job or whatever it is. So that way we can get good payback. So always promote yourself. Even the regular stuff you do.
Yeah, no,
it's cool.
I think
and people buy into it.
With artists, they definitely want to like, because we all are trying to be like The Weeknd or someone that already has a brand, but to be mysterious, like, you know, like a Prince or something like that. And it's like, we can't, you know.
You can't. You're an independent artist.
At this day and age, you have, if you're doing it independently, you have to be able to promote yourself and, like you said, the whole picture, you know. So no, that's
anything
great.
to add on that, Mike? We're presenting your whole
self. No, I mean, I think it's difficult.
Yeah,
because we are complex individuals.
We are,
and we wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah,
and particularly, you know, being an independent artist, it's like you're wearing all the hats of a whole production team.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It used to be a whole recording studio that did all this stuff for you. You know, so that's I agree.
It's tough, man. That's why I don't like things getting glamorized.
Yeah,
that's one of my big. I love to see it raw as it is because it gives you a certain appreciation for what's going on. So when I hear your stuff and I see what you did, I'm like, yo, you had to do a lot of work to make that happen. Yeah, I'm about to enjoy this. Yeah, like back in the day, when we used to watch a Michael Jackson video, you knew they were on set for 3 months. So you're gonna sit and watch that video. You're gonna appreciate it, and you're gonna go back and watch it again. Yeah. So another thing, and this is just going into the industry. I don't like these questions, but it is what it is. So the entertainment and recording industry is a diverse sector to break into because first of all, everybody's there. You're competing with everybody around the world now, right?
You're competing with attentions.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you're competing with Instagram.
Streamers have definitely taken the role because I used to post on like in the mid 2010s, you know, on like SoundCloud. I would post my music before I put it on DSPs, and like a lot of people would listen just because there wasn't as many mediums of attention.
True.
You know, like somebody like now somebody's TikToking like their day with their dog or like, you know, them on a spa day. So it's just like we're competing against not even just other artists, but like you said, like the landscape has changed and streamers are definitely like taking a big chunk that even like people in the mainstream have it, you know.
Away.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we used to focus on music because music was something that you could take everywhere with you.
Yep.
But now you can take videos.
You can take everything with you.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything.
Yeah. I remember Walkmans and stuff like
And
that.
yeah.
Oh man, that was like
MP3 players when it was just MP3.
Do you remember mini disc?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, I remember mini disc.
So mini disc was like
Minidisc.
you had CDs, but then you had mini disc, and it was like a little tiny CD inside of a plastic thing. And Sony came up with it, and we were all convinced. I was. I don't know. We were all convinced. No. It was like a little tiny little cassette that you could, and you could make your own playlist because they were recordable. And it was before CDRs were really out, so you could do all of that. And then all of a sudden MP3s hit.
And that was,
and it just turned into a little pile of junk that nobody wanted to see ever again.
All that plastic stuff just thrown away.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do think that Napster generation really saved music for a lot of reasons. Because even like you were talking about being able to go back and listen to.
Yeah. Oh, YouTube for me because I was I was really young in the Napster age.
Right, but that's what I refer to it as because that's what kicked it off. But
or the
streaming age, I guess.
Yeah, music being able to be taken from the cloud,
as
opposed to, and this is what you got to remember. This is what's crazy because you have to deal with this. This kind of sucks. You used to have to go into a physical place and pick up a medium and then play the medium. Your medium would then be checked off as a sold medium. You would then get money based off of that sold medium. It would go directly to you and only you based on your contract. Now, what happens is somebody flies by your music, they hear it wherever it's at. A portion of that goes to pay the big company, and then something really small tumbles down to you because it has to hit like 15 different spots before it gets to you. There used to be less spots because we have physical medium. But now, what's crazy is it's accessible, but it doesn't do anything for monetization for the artist. You still got to go out and perform. And as an independent artist, one of the things that you will have to do, especially trying to break into this, being independent, you have to have special talents or some way that would differentiate you from everybody else so that we want to spend money, $50, $60 to come see your show. Because if you do that, that's how you can make real money. Now, what kind of special talents do you possess that will split, will separate you from the crowd?
Well, I wanted to touch right quick on what you said because we're always wondering like, dang, everyone's paying like $10, $15 for music streaming, Spotify music. It's like, dang. And it's like, oh, of course the artists are not making any money because it's like each person is paying like to listen to every single catalog.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, I'm investing, money into the music itself. And it's like, that necessarily doesn't provide a return. I think I got like, right now, I think $100 a month for like over the past year from just streaming. So I got like a bunch of tracks. So I'm like,
You know what this makes me think then is that like music production is becoming content creation essentially now.
I think that's a good point.
And we don't treat content creation well.
No,
for me, that's like a aftermath of like actually like putting in the time for the song. It's like, oh, let me put. Now I got to put some more time in the content creation, but I'm more happy about putting time into the song and
because that's the art.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, but it's a whole nother beast with the content creation. So that was just something. Sorry, what was the?
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. So what I was wondering is, do you have any special talents?
Honestly, I feel like, and this might be a stretch, but I feel like I come from like that same like vine of like Jamie Foxx, Childish Gambino in terms of like just being like someone that's like good with like voices and like just being very entertaining.
Gotcha.
I think I can be like, I wouldn't say like I'm an actor, but I try to like include like very like comedic bits or like, very Atlanta-esque. I think just like, I try to play like a straight character and like just random shit just happens to me, or like, I'm in weird situations. Because I think I low-key, like with being as an artist, like I've been definitely in like some interesting situations. I
already
performed one time after a Juggalo back when I was like one of my, like I dropped my first project. Yeah, it was like a showcase and I was like right after a Juggalo. And there's no offense to Juggalos. It was just very like odd.
Oh, this is a different world.
It's always surprising.
And he had a song with Hobson too, which was like also like I was and he gave me a CD and I was and like the song with Hobson wasn't that it was actually, it was pretty good. And I was just like, dude, what the hell? Like this is just it was wild to me. But it was just like one of my first showcases and like
they're very dedicated.
Yeah, and I would like to talk about that if you have a second.
Go ahead.
I had just put out my first album actually. And I was 21 at the time, and it was called 21 and Up. So it was very, very fitting.
Yeah.
And this was like, I think in the scene at the time, there wasn't as like the showcases. So I had to bring people, and I got like close to 15 people that bought tickets, which was in the grand scheme of things, I think there was like 10 or 15 artists that performed, and like I was the one that probably sold on the higher end, of like amount of people. And I just remember that was one of my first experiences where like I was one of the last people to perform, and I was just remembering like having to tell the dude that was like putting it on together that I was like, hey, I brought these amount of people, and like I need to be higher just because these people have been waiting. And I'm glad like my family and friends, they stayed for like 3 hours. That was a long showcase. And it was probably one of the most like disheartening things I've had to go through as an artist, because I felt like I put on this, this great album, and I was ready, and I sold tickets, and I sold like 15 tickets, which, it's not, and I think everyone else had maybe like 2 or 3, or most people had 2 or 3. And I was just like, trying to get the whole,
you're trying to make
get through to, and I just looked like some young kid, probably, and I think that's, I got dismissed easy. And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna get you. And then he just like show, act after act. And I was just like, what, like, in my head, it was like, I was going insane, because I was like, look at the amount of people I brought, like, and, let me do my shit. Yeah, I didn't know if it was a case of politics or what have you. It just, I just felt very, very naive, and and that's probably one of the times where I just was like so disheartened. But I think the songs, that I did perform, I think I left like a lasting like impression. And it was like, I think by the time I got performed, I was like super amped up, and I was just like, let's fucking go. I was just, I don't know if I can curse on here, but
no,
of course.
You sounded like Charlie Day right there when you said that, by the way. I don't know.
I also like to play with voices.
But
that was funny, man.
Yeah, no, that definitely that was tough, because I was very young, but I think it was just one of those things where,
what that sounds like? It sounds like the Michael Jackson story when him and his brothers got beat up outside the club and they sold their gear.
Oh, dang. Yeah, no.
And he was like 6 years old. That's very disheartening. No, seriously, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You did all that work in.
Yeah. I was about to get it like in a fight with the juggler, because I called him like ICP. I was like, oh, let's give it up for ICP. I don't know. I was very upset at the time, and I was just like, let's give it up for ICP. And then he just like looked back. I thought he was about to come try, but he ended up not coming.
Because you know what? It's just been him. It's been some other ones.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that was just, a moment of just, I think I had to learn that like everything that I envision in my head is not going to go not according to plan. Only thing I could do is control like me performing the actual songs, which I did, but everything in between that, it was just like, it was like I was like, oh my God, I want to perform so bad. So that early on, and I think those kind of things helped me feel like I have a sense of resiliency, whereas like, man, I just can't quit this, I just put out an album, and it was one of those moments where I was like, damn, but it felt like I had an album, but it was bittersweet because, I felt like I got pushed to the end of the line,
Yeah, you didn't get to have your celebration.
Yeah, I didn't get to like relish, as I wanted to. Yeah. But I feel like the songs that I did perform, I performed 3 like hype as hell, and they were awesome. And I think that's, kind of what I took from it. It was like, all right, it's gonna be an uphill battle,
but you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You will eventually get to the stage.
Exactly. Yeah,
with that being, this is great. This is a great segue into this. So obviously dealing with that that difficult event and the amount of work that you have to put in as an independent artist.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little earlier, but this is right on it, man. Are you wanting to stay independent, or are you looking to be signed by a major label? If because like you said, that's a hard road.
It just can't be.
That's a hard road.
Yeah. Do you know about
this corporation over here will pay me? I can chill a little bit. I can relax.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know about like the 360.
Oh yeah. I know what. But this is what I'm saying. Like you can. And the thing is, like, but there's a certain comfort that they give. Now, for you, is that comfort that important? Are you looking to stay independent, or do you want that major label?
I think if a proper like split could happen, whether it's 50-50 or just something where like I'm not getting fucked, I guess that's kind of what.
So anything over 40-60.
Yeah. I mean, just basically,
they gotta win. They have to win.
But I've seen a lot of these artists that achieve some. I've been I said, dude, like I've watched artist interviews where they were hot like 5 years ago, and now they actually like owed the label money because it was a loan essentially, and it's. I think just I'm like, and I think that's where like, we can gather wisdom because we see other people like, unfortunately, like, they've, done their trial and tribulation, and you can, and it was like, oh, why are they not hot anymore? It's like, oh, actually their whole deal, like basically caused them to not be, they weren't able to put out future music. Nope. They weren't making any money off the music that they had. And it was just like, man, there's a lot of like, and all you saw was that they got famous and they had hit songs, and it turns out they were broke. And I think that's kind of where I'm very interested in. I think, like I said, I'm okay with a major like coming approach.
So you said this, and I want you to be definitive on this. What kind of split are you looking for?
I mean, I think 50-50. I think that's I mean, I don't know if that's with like touring.
Do you want them to own your image?
Ooh.
Because that's another thing that goes in those 360 deals, your name, image, and likeness. That's what do you think the name, image, and likeness came from?
Yeah.
It was already being used on artists, but now the children who play football in college can now get some of that money, which is cool. But would you
also the name?
Yeah, would you be okay? Because that's a deal that a lot of folks take. So they can use it in perpetuity throughout the universe.
Well, the only thing I'd be
it's stupid that they write it like that.
Like when, who was it that they had like a Sims? It was Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah.
They had a Sims spinoff called The Herbs, and it was the Black Eyed Peas. Yeah, Herbs.
The Herbs.
The Herbs. It's the urban Sims.
Yep.
Because it can't be the regular Sims.
It can't be regular because they aren't in the city anymore. But yeah, they can own your image. So like whatever, this is one reason, I don't know if you heard this story, if you know about these politics, but Snoop Dogg, the reason why it was so important for him to buy Death Row Records. So there was a lady who owned it. She owned it since it was sold in the mid 90s. But what she did is she saw that Snoop wanted to buy it from her, and Snoop wanted to buy it. She thought he just wanted it just so he can have the name Death Row.
Oh, they still had him on paper.
They still had him on papers, meaning his image. And who does the most marketing in the world? Snoop Dogg. So the reason why he was having to
Snoop is
Marcus Stewart, Olympics.
And the reason why he was having to do so much is because they were taking percentage to this day.
That's why
he couldn't use the dog with the 2 G's.
Dang, that's why he's still putting out music.
Yes, they still they're owning money. So he's restricted from using certain things in his old catalog. Everything that says Snoop Dogg on it. So that's gin and juice.
The hits, the 90s hits.
That hurts. So he had to buy it back.
He had to buy it just to get it.
Man. I thought because he's a happy dad that the seltzer, they got a Death Row flavor. I thought that was the whole reason.
Yes.
He bought Death Row was to link, but you're right. Man.
It was for other reasons, but now he can use it in his own marketing, which is a strong thing. And that's the reason why I'm asking this question about the independence and stuff and keeping things to yourself in these deals, because a lot of people who get into music don't know it. They just want to live an easy life.
And it's a lot different than it used to be.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I think, and I like I said, I envisioned, making records when I was coming up like 17, 18, and then like having somebody kind of pluck me and kind of like develop me. Because I thought that, that's how it was, because I was like, all right, like I have like raw talent. I just needed somebody to like, help me, craft it and develop it. And, and in the case of a major label or someone like an A&R,
that's what they do.
And now it's on its head, because now you have to actually come and provide metrics of like, are you popping? Basically, like
you gotta have a hit.
You gotta have your social media.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Do you have your clout? Let me see your clout rating.
Yeah, do you have a catalog? Rating, how many streams is like for each song, and then like how much engagement are you getting? And it's like okay, and I feel like I stand out different from artists because some people are getting lucky on TikTok with like one viral hit. They got one viral hit that makes them pop.
Don't even have a complete song.
They gotta. I mean, I think Jello Ball is probably a good example. He probably's been making music for a couple years, but I definitely could hate on it because I'm like, he hasn't been making it as long as I have, and and that wasn't necessarily his first route and into stardom. And he got like I think an $8 million deal.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
But it's like he's only got one song, so it's just like what type of legend?
Did you hear what I said? Some of these people don't even have completed songs. Yeah. They'll make a 30-second snippet, right? Put it on there for people to use. Once they get a hit back saying, "Oh, it's moving," they'll complete the song. So they can have something to then say, "Hey, you can sell this. Yeah, let me get that deal."
And just wait till you figure out how many of those are actually AI created.
Bruh, don't do that to me.
That's
the question I would like to ask, but I don't know. We ain't gonna have that time to do so today.
Yeah.
Because you are a youth, and I wanted to ask you about what you think AI is going to do to that industry. I've been speaking about this with my wife, and we were trying to figure out how long will it take, what generation will it get to that will be like, you know what? I like that AI voice quality, because right now we still like human voice quality, which is
I don't know, man.
Auto-tune.
Say it, auto-tune. Try to bridge it.
YouTube has got a whole lot of very official sounding news people that are actually robots.
I know.
Yeah, and people be believing every word they say.
Singing vibrato.
Oh no. We ain't there yet.
Yeah, I don't think Aretha Franklin yet.
But I'm sure there are people using AI to write.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
Sure.
All right, before we close out, I have 2 questions to ask. Can you tell us? I know, isn't it quick? Yeah. Tell us about your favorite performance and where else would you like to perform?
Okay. Could I mention 2 briefly?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, in 2021, I got to open up for Riff Raff. Mr. Jody Hyro, the man right there. You don't know if he's a meme or a rapper. He's a little bit of both. And honestly, I feel like that was where, I've been making music for like 6-7 years, and I felt like this, like, man, and everything just kind of encapsulated that moment where almost everything that went right. Well, that I envisioned, it went right.
Opposite.
And I had a DJ, and we met a couple times before. Shout out to DJ Local One. We met a couple times before to actually practice, and there was actually like certain triggers in like a set, because I never had worked with a DJ, and most of my shows I just have somebody like play, like that's
play the track.
Yeah, exactly. And play the next one. This is the next song. And exactly. So we actually had like certain, I guess, like cues that we hit with the song, like, oh, lo-fi this, something like that, where it like really gave it. And some of my songs, if you've heard the music, like I have certain parts where I'm like, I have ways of like, when I do Prince in My City, and when you guys say, hey, like certain parts. I try to make it as participative as possible, because I know like that's what the fuck people are there for. Right. Like they want to feel like they're a part of the show, So, I feel like I like to have conversations, when I'm on the stage, and just everything with that Riff Raff. Like I think I was able to perform, I think, a couple acts before him. So like probably like 450, maybe close to 500 people were there. So it was like, I wasn't like the very first, I wasn't the second. So I was like, I was definitely like, a little bit. I was definitely put on at a great time. And, I had a 12-minute set, and I did like, I think 4 of my songs, and I repeated it. So I technically had 5 songs. My first song, I ended up putting it like as an encore again, just to have the crowd repeat it again. Yeah. And honestly, I think with and it probably was like 15 minutes. They told me 12 minutes. I was like, I'm gonna take, nobody had a stopwatch. So I was just like, but I think with that 15 minutes, I performed it to where it was like, I left at a good time. Because maybe if I would have done 25 minutes, maybe it would have got a little too long. And I felt like I gave the audience, were like, damn, they wanted one, like another one. And like I got off stage, and like, I think that exactly. It was definitely a sweet spot where they're like, damn, we could have heard some more. But maybe if it was like 25, 30 minutes, they'd be like, towards the end, like, So I think I definitely had it where I maximized the time, and it was definitely great. Yeah. And then, I got to see Riff Raff, perform a couple
man. And you got to, and did you get to that was my network at that?
Yeah, it was some
network.
Yeah. I didn't get to meet Riff Raff, but I got to just network, and that's probably where I got a lot of people that like that didn't know me. But I was giving, in my songs, I try to give stories, and like before I try to preface some of the songs, and afterwards a lot of people came up to me, and I got like followers on Instagram, and just people showing support, and it was like, that's it's just crazy, because it was like that was one of the time where it's like, man, if I just had this platform where I could just open or like perform for like 400 or 500 people, like I could make like 10% of them like into into a follower. And I think that's kind of that was probably one of my favorite. And then probably the next one, I was went to MTV's Fresh Out. Yeah, I got asked, or somebody sent me something about like a intern that was trying to put on artists for the show, like small artists, and I just reached out. And they liked my songs. And for 12 weeks, once a week, I would have to reach out to her on Monday for her to let me know later in the week if I could come on that Friday. So for 12 weeks, I was hitting her up, and she was like, okay. And then by Wednesday or Thursday, I'd be like, we can't get you on this week. Or like by Wednesday, she'd be like, we can't get you on. And, I kept doing that. And I was like one of those things where I felt like I was going insane, but it was like, I already envisioned myself like on that stage. Like I already could see myself there. So I think by like week 8 or 9, she had said, oh, it's a go. And then by like that Wednesday or Thursday, she was like, we won't be able to do it this week. And I was like, and I was like, I think that like the artist that was being featured was like Ice Spice. I was like, oh man, like I was about to fall in love with like Ice Spice. So I was trying to, I was already thinking ahead. And it's like, all right, let's get out of fantasy land. Yeah. And I think by the time the 12th, I was like, man, I think like this is kind of like it became a process, but I was like, I didn't really think it was gonna come about. So I just by the 12th week, it came about 3 months in. She gave me the A-OK like on that Wednesday, and then I flew out to New York for that day of, and I pulled up to Times Square where they have the Paramount Studios, And I just remember I'd flown all this way. They had heard my music. And like one of the producers of the show was like, he handed me like an empty water bottle. He's like, all right, I want you to do your set, right? Like, you know what you're going to do right now. And I was just like, fuck, I'm already here. Like, you know, it's
already going.
I already thought like, I thought I was like, I didn't have to do this, but it's like one of those things where it's like, all right, you know, in the moment, you know, the pressure builds like, all right, this guy is the reason that I might not be on the show. So I gotta, you know, so I literally just had the water bottle, perform for a minute, and you know, the
water bottle was your mic.
Yeah, And in the outside, like, you know, in Times Square. You were outside on the street. On the street.
We're not letting you in the door.
Handle all of that.
And it was like one of those things where like the pressure built so much, and in my head, I'm just like,
people are looking at you.
Yeah, of course. And I think I think being an artist has helped me like understand like how this works. Yeah. And that was one of the moments where it was like, all right, the pressure mounts. Like I know how to rise above it, and like I just did it right then and there, and then I got to be on the show. So it was, you know, awesome. Something like that. So yeah, MTV fresh out. So yeah, it's pretty good. So,
all right.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Finally, you have to let people know.
Shameless plug.
Yep,
shameless plug.
Where they can find you, where they can reach you at, and if they need to get in contact with you for work.
Okay. Princeton is on all streaming platforms. You can find songs like Prince in My City, 5 a.m. Missed Call, I Feel Like Pablo, Beijing. But any streaming platform that you have. YouTube, I go by Princeton Dropout. TikTok as well, I'm Princeton Dropout, and then Instagram, I'm Princeton Musica. So yeah, those are my main social channels that I get on. So
what's next for you?
Yeah, whew, man. Well, this podcast was on my list. What's next after this? I'm hoping to release an EP this year, and then maybe an album as well. But definitely an EP is on the horizon. And I'm also like writing a book, or like in the process of getting a book made. So yeah, it's another thing. It's supposed to coincide. It's like more of like a sensual poetry book.
Oh,
and it was
we got back for the book.
Yeah, you write lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think it it all goes hand in hand. So that's something that I wanted to explore, and it's supposed to coincide with the track that I also have coming out. So nice. Creative. I think just being creative. I think that's at the end of the day.
Writing for a special lady.
I did at the time, yeah. So like, that was the whole thing it came about, and I was kind of like trying to make it like as an artist, like make like one of those like Jamie Foxx skits. Like, oh, what if I just came out with a book, And then I sent it, and he's like, oh, you should actually try to make this book. I'm like, okay. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of things I got going on. Right, just trying to perform more, and like any opportunities I get, I'm gonna take them. So,
well, always feel free to come back to our podcast.
Thank you.
Always be a guest.
Yeah.
Like, let us know, like if something pops out. Shoot us an email, et cetera. Let us know so we can promote it, et cetera. But other than that, man, it's an excellent episode.
Well, actually, like I said, I wanted to mention that you guys have been like championing me like very early, like a couple years ago, and put on like the Friday, New Music Friday on Instagram, like without me asking, like you guys would find my tracks, that I released, and it was like something that
kind of creepy.
It was creepy, but it was just like it felt creepy. Like because normally, like as an artist, we have to do a lot of that, heavy lifting ourselves.
Yes.
So the fact that I just put out my song, and you guys had already like, I didn't have to send anything. It felt great. So I definitely,
especially for local artists, man, because there's nobody like yourself to promote it.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been slacking recently. I might have to get back on it because work. Look at the camera, work. Like we talk about, because we do other things outside of here, but I know the importance of it because you get notified. You know that you're on a place. It matters to your streams. It affects how you get brought up in the algorithm in the search. So we love to promote our people because everybody's promoting their people. So we got to do our job, Okay. But anytime.
Sweet, thank you guys.
But signing off, this is DJ and what?
Mike.
You.
Oh, tomorrow.
And our esteemed guest
in Princeton.
We appreciate you for joining us today. Until the next time, somebody next to you, know that you love them and you appreciate them. Make sure you pay attention when people are pointing at you. Peace.
The Hilltop Glove Podcast.